Hello, everyone. First of all, wishing all of you a very happy World Mental Health Day. Our topic of discussion for this panel is how social media impacts mental health. Now, there are many reasons that have attributed to an increase in social media usage, whether it is reduced cost of data packs, an increasing need to stay connected at all times, and also the amount of information we get from social media. New careers are being built there, and it's all become all just too powerful. So, but we know enough how to navigate it without it affecting our mental health? Let's find that out today. We have with us Nupur Dhake, one of the most proficient trauma informed queer affirmative clinical psychologists practicing in Pune. Shravya Ataluri, the activist who is shaking up mental health and feminism through her art. And Alex Matthew, popularly known as Maya the Drag Queen, a big promoter of local cultural identity in the drag art form. So, to start off, I'd like to ask Alex and Shravya, why can't we stop scrolling on social media? Why is it that, even when we open up our Instagram, right? Because that's a platform which is hot right now. We open Instagram and then, we scroll through it. Even though we get bored of it, we close it and then we open it again. So, why do you think that it is so addictive and we just can't stop, our generation can't stop scrolling through social media? And also, what has been your personal experience? Was there any time that you were yourself sort of addicted to scrolling? So, Shravya, you can start.
Yeah, I'm definitely addicted. I still am. And I think it has positive and negative benefits, and both are reasons to be addicted. For me, I think it started as a way to connect with friends, family, and also when I couldn't find a community of people where I was physically online, I could, find like-minded people. And I think that's where it started. And then, the scrolling I think comes from endless entertainment, and I think that's where it's really positive because whenever I want to get some kind of entertainment or escape reality, like I know I can open social media and there's always something that will make me smile, make my day, and I think yeah, that's what I really enjoy about it.
Alex?
So, going with what Shravya said, it's entertaining, and especially when it comes to the LGBT community, we have like varying videos from like makeup, how to do transition from
Yeah.
makeup, and me being a drag artist, I really get hooked onto it, and I'm like, okay, how do you make this eyebrow so perfectly? All of those sort of, and also as a performer, I keep seeing entertaining reels. Like right now, reels
Hmm.
is like,
Yeah.
it is taken over Instagram now. Photos and videos, like long format videos, are like they don't have much of importance. So in my case, it's become a livelihood. Like I never thought before 2020 that that would be my primary source of income, and it's at the moment social media is giving me money that I need to survive and thrive. So that's why I keep focusing on scrolling on social media.
Yeah, of course. If it's your work, then obviously you have to be on top of it. But for a lot of people, it isn't even their work, but still they are hooked to it, right? Like they'll be at times, it's good when we are learning something or we are taking that half an hour out to be entertained. But Nupur, from you, I would like to know that what are some of the negative impacts that practical negative impacts that have that a person can face if they scroll too much on social media, right? Like if their career is on it, then that's a different thing, because then obviously it comes under work as well, right? Because I also handle social media, and so I am on social media for like the entire day. So for me, it does not count, I feel. But and even Alex and Shravya as well. But Nupur, for
Mhm.
you, what could be the negative impacts of it?
So, social media feeds are programmed to be infinite. There's no end to it. You can go on and on and on and on. And so, when we are scrolling for information, for entertainment, for a primary reason why we are on social media to begin with. But after that is over, we are still scrolling. And what happens is when that's over, scrolling is a mindless activity. It is passive entertainment. You don't have to really use your brain, use your cognitive capabilities to really process information, to keep it. And so you can just go on. Plus it's so easy, you just have to do this. Earlier,
Yeah.
if there was something you wanted to get engaged in, there is active participation, but this is very passive. And when that goes on, a lot of times we scroll to sort of dissociate. There is so much happening around, and it's stressful. I mean, to deal with what's happening outside, collective trauma, social trauma, personal trauma, it's a lot to take. So the best way to it seems like the best way to deal with it is to not look at it. So there's mindless scrolling. We are not in the present, we are there in others' lives, and which really doesn't impact us. So then what happens is, when we come back, we have to sort of face reality again. We have to face that, okay, tomorrow I got to get up and go for work that I don't want to go to, for example, or I need to face a confrontation which is going to be difficult. So then again, that reality check becomes shocking. And then one goes back and then one comes back in. So, we are stuck in the cycle of anxiety, of depression, of fear, of uh, just confusion over whether I should be doing this or not. And also, what happens is there is secretion of dopamine and serotonin in the brain when we find some pleasure in what we are seeing. But dopamine does not have a satiety control. It wants and it wants and it wants and
Yeah.
it wants. Okay, and then it's like any addiction, you know and it feels good to begin with. After that, it doesn't matter, it stops giving us pleasure too. So it shakes our limbic system, which is like the emotional brain. So we are unable to regulate the pleasant emotions and unpleasant emotions. That again brings about emotional upheaval. So yes, it works at a brain level. It works in the sense of neurobiological, neurochemical level. It works at a psychological level, and of course, it has then its behavioral impact on family members, on your peers. You go more inside, So yeah, the negative impact spreads in all directions.
So a lot of us are also using social media for good. So Shravya, part of a big part of what you do is talk about mental health through your art, right? So why did you think that there was a lack of this? Like there was a gap in discussions around mental health online, and how did you start? Was it because you yourself got trolled, or you yourself faced something that you needed that conversation to be there, and that's how you thought that, okay, maybe because even I need it, then of course other people might need it as well, right? So how did you come about doing that? And just explain everyone about why do you think it's important to talk about mental health on social media and how you do it.
Yeah, so back in 2014, I was diagnosed with clinical depression. And, at that point, I wasn't really on social media or anything. Just personally, I was on there just to connect with my friends, not as an artist, even though I was training to be an artist. But um, I think for me, my parents were really supportive, and my mom wanted, to give me strength and like show me other people who've gone through it. And one person, she showed me Deepika Padukone's interview, and that was like back then, that was like one of the only resources we found of people talking
Yeah.
openly about it. And I really struggled to find other people in the community. I struggled to find other people who are open to talk about it, and there was so much stigma. I think it's gotten a lot better, but obviously, I was a student, I was an artist. I didn't really have a platform, and I noticed, there's a lack of these conversations because what you see on the news is very like one-sided. It's either like what's gone wrong. You never hear the success stories, or you never hear the full journey. Someone's only ready to talk about it when they've won the battle or when someone's lost the battle, unfortunately, but you don't hear their journey throughout. And what I realized is that this is not something, like a flu that I can just recover and move on. It's chronic depression, meaning I'm going to have to live with it. And where are those other people who live with it? And, can I learn from them so I don't have to, you know, when they've gone through something, they can tell me, hey, actually, you need to have social media boundaries. You need to go to therapy. All of those, I needed that community, and I didn't find it. So I wanted to use the tool that I have, which is fine art and illustration, and use that as a communication tool to kind of put my effort in there and try to build that community. So the opportunity with social media is that it's a platform that has a lot of accessibility, so it's very easily able to start the conversation. And it was personal for me because I put my journey, as I started medication, as I started therapy, and I processed that through my art, and I shared those daily journals, visual journals, on Instagram. And what I started to realize is other people started to relate, and there started to become like an open discussion. And that's when I realized like there is the power of having such an accessible, open platform for dialogue, and opportunity for people who don't see a community to build their own community and support system. So that's where I think, social media is such a powerful tool to like
Yeah.
destigmatize mental health.
So, Alex, what about you? I believe that you also had this experience of finding a community that supports you, that empowers you online. So, how did that work out for you and your journey?
Well, it wasn't a cakewalk. I had to, like, live in a cosmopolitan city like Bangalore in order to be accepted. I was born in Kerala. I worked a little bit in Hyderabad and moved into Bangalore. So it was a lot of navigation in order to find the right people who will support you. Say, hearing all of this, like, about mental health, like there's so much of stigma related to mental health within the community as well. So it is a quite a constant battle where I tell people, hey, I think you need help, and they equate it to saying that, you are you calling me crazy, and that is not the right way to go about it. It's just that, even for me, for example, when I came out of the closet, I went to a therapist because a lot of people are saying, oh, I think you're having what split personality disorder because I am performing as Maya and I am being as Alex. And they're not seeing it as a drag persona and a person behind the drag persona. So it was literally like me going to the therapist and saying, hey, am I having split personality disorder? And she was like, she just started, asking me questions and all that. And she came to the conclusion, no, you don't behave like one who has a split personality disorder. And I was like, phew, like, I don't know why people were putting those thoughts into my head, like,
Yeah.
even the same case goes with when people keep coming and asking questions. Hey, do you want to do SRS, which is sex reassignment surgery? And I'm like, no, I'm happy being who I am. So it's a constant battle when you meet people, especially from the community, and then there are those people who understand you completely and say, hey, we are there for you. So I pick and choose the right amount of people. So yeah.
So, yeah, with that, like I believe that if someone living in a smaller village or in a smaller city where they do have access to social media, right, when they see that, okay, this person is also breaking stereotypes, so they also feel that, okay, even I can embrace who I am, right, and not pretend anymore just because that makes me more acceptable. So, I feel in that sense, social media is very empowering. One of the problems that we also face is that, like we all have our different achievements in life, right? So but it's so easy to see everybody's life on social media, and most of the people are putting out things which are like, okay, I am so perfect, everything is so perfect, I am completely happy. I feel in the past 3 years people have actually started sharing the real side of things, but before that it was a lot more superficial, I feel. So Nupur, what do you think that I feel that this whole thing causes when people don't talk about what is real and present their entire life to be very perfect, right? So we end up do feeling jealous, right? Because there are so many accounts, it's not just one person who's doing it, everyone is creating that illusion. So what does that do for a person, who's also trying to maybe achieve the same things? How
Yeah.
do they deal with that jealousy that you feel that, okay, one thing that I have also been doing is that, going on LinkedIn, that's my LinkedIn thing, to check that, okay, this person is this age, okay, I am also this age, I should have done this by now. So how does that whole, and this escalates completely when it's on social, right? Because you see
Yeah,
every day, you see a person with so much following, and like so much, they're getting so much attention. So
yeah.
Nupur, how do we deal with that jealousy?
Hmm. Good question. Because this is something we all go through. I mean, I go through that. I also do this. So,
Yeah.
in the sense, I am very happy, very comfortable to put up my achievements and to put up, oh, I got featured in this, I got featured in that, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But I am not talking about the struggle behind it. I'm not talking about the 10 years of slogging that I had to do, which came with its mental health issues as well, which where that's not what I'm showing. I don't want to show it. Why would I want to put my struggles out there for everybody? Because not every space is a safe space. Not every space is a safe space. So we have our just friends or a therapist to talk to. So I'm not going to put on social media that yes, I've had two depressive episodes, considering I'm a clinical psychologist, I am a therapist, I have XYZ qualifications, and it's not, I don't feel safe because people ask, how do you are a psychologist, how do you get mental health issues? So then I throw a question back at them. It's like asking that, it's like saying a cardiologist will never get a heart attack. It's not
Yeah.
like that. It doesn't work this way. So we are just looking at the greener side of the pasture, and we have a very skewed understanding of what's happening in people's life. So jealousy and envy is obviously very, very normal. They are normal human emotions. I wouldn't call them bad emotions, because we see that people have and we don't have that, or we have troubles and people don't have troubles. We don't know backstories, we don't know
Yeah.
traumas that are there, you know and traumas cannot be compared. It always feels like my trauma is bigger than your trauma, or we don't know. It just seems that everybody's life is so hunky dory, and it can be completely opposite. So a very important is empathy and kindness. Jealousy comes of because we think you are better than I am, you have more than I do. Okay, you are superior to what I am, and there is this sort of comparison. So it's important to know, okay, I don't have the full story. I have only, so if it's a box, I can see only one side of the box. I don't know what's, it's like the typical blind man and elephant story, where one blind man can touch only the back, one blind man can touch only the trunk, and so on. And that's your perspective. So empathy and kindness is very important also towards yourself. That can help us sort of break away from uh, getting stuck in the jealousy, which then perpetrates anxiety and depressive symptoms. So that is something we have to remember.
So, Shravya, Alex, have you two ever been in that vicious cycle of, comparing yourself to other people and, being jealous of their achievements? And how have you personally dealt with that? Did you like recognize it, Pele, in the first sight itself that, okay, this is wrong?
Yeah, I think growing up like that, where you get compared to your neighbors, your cousins, your siblings, your parents, there's a lot of pressure. Especially, I'm from South India. I'm from Andhra Pradesh, where all my cousins, everyone I know is an engineer or a doctor, or like academics, or your degrees are so important. And um, my grades are so important. I'm not very good at like studying or the traditional. I have ADHD, so I get really anxious or like distracted. So I didn't perform in school as good as people hoped. And so I think that's like it started at such an early stage of like being put against everyone I know and having to be compared, and I compare myself to like, oh well, I'm not first in class, or I didn't get full marks, therefore my actual value is less. And obviously being an artist, it's so subjective, and other people value your art, and the value of your art is like based on an elitist society, or all of those things definitely affected my self-esteem and my self-worth. And it definitely got worse because I grew up with social media, Facebook, Instagram, like my entire life is on it, and so are all my friends. So I spent majority of my outings, my you know college degrees, my all of my biggest achievements are on social media, and I've learned that like you build a profile that's impressive for people to see, like your entire life resume. Like we take so long to create our CV or a resume to send. This social media kind of became this whole profile, like the whole thing. I had to curate it so much so that it was a perfect image. And what happened was, you know, everyone loves that and accepts that, but it was so far away from how I was actually feeling or who I really was. And that's when, I had a real breakdown, and I was very confused of like, who do see me as, and your perception of me is a story that I've put for you. Um, and and that's when I always think about that when I'm looking at other people, and I'm very jealous. I look at LinkedIn's and I'm like, oh no, like this person's already on whatever top list, and I've not achieved that much. And I always remind myself that they've curated that as well, and there's so much that they're not showing. And this comes with you know growing up seeing like Tumblr and all these images of bodies and how you're supposed to look. That started a lot of disordered eating and body dysmorphia for me, because I grew up going to India, and I used to live in Korea and Hong Kong, and there the body type is also very different. So I grew up not like I grew up glorifying body shapes that I would never be able to achieve. And all of that is very, very dangerous and really affected, a lot of my mental health. And so as a result, now I have to set healthy boundaries to make sure I don't fall into those traps, because it's not like I'm immune to it. I still fall into that. Like, I've been on LinkedIn, I'm trying to be successful. I see people getting mentorships, awards. I just got rejected for one yesterday, and I could have just not said that. I could have just focused on the things that I did achieve. But I think it's important to also share, hey, I had a failure today, and I'm sure you did too. And if you're like, if you're glorifying me, please don't, because I work on social media, so you are seeing a very small part of my life, just the artist, just that mental health advocate. But I have my own struggles. I'm having failures, and I think that's where I think it's really important that we try not to curate, our personalities. And yes, it might affect, your next job, but at the same time, you're not getting into job, and their perception of you is wrong. Like the worst thing I want to do is give you a perception of me that's not real, because that will affect your life going forward and your relationship with that person going forward.
Okay. So Alex, social media has provided a platform where the LGBTQ plus community can come out and speak up. So what are some of the things you would say that you wouldn't have been able to do if it weren't for social media?
So, coming to social media, I started social media technically in 2015. And since then, it's just like I blew up with followers, I blew up with visibility, like people know that I exist. But at the same time, I battled it out with people who kept enforcing sort of stereotype to me, and that was like a man should not wear a sari. And my if you look at, I mean, Shravya would understand better. Like the women in our South India, they mostly wear saris wherever they go, and I had to represent the Indian women. You know, being an Indian drag queen, I have to represent that. So, being that, I had to battle it out, and always this whole battle of being appealing, being seen like, okay, I have to look in a certain way or appeal to an audience in certain way in order for them to reach out to me and give me work. So I had to literally, so coming to jealousy, I'm like, why is this queen getting more gigs than me? I have been in the scene for 7 years. Hello, why are you not looking at me? So I had to literally battle her. And then eventually I kept breaking it down. I said, okay, you know what? My battles are even more difficult and more longer, because at the same time I'm putting out a niche sort of art form where I am being very unique. So it's not going to be easy for me. But at the same time, getting like accolades, I till date I've never gotten an award, and I'm thankful that I've not gotten an award till date. But I think I award myself to being a long everlasting drag queen so far. So that is something which I would take for myself. I keep reminding myself, hey, you are here, this is what matters. So eventually I keep
It's 10 o'clock.
reiterating that to young drag queens, young queer people in the community, by saying, hey, if I am still standing here, you can do that too. And eventually that's something which they turn around and say, like, you are inspiring. For me, that is like the biggest thing I can I can ever achieve. Not figuring out and being in Forbes about 20 list and all of that stuff. So yeah, that's the biggest award I can ever get.
So Nupur, a big part of social media is also, getting those followers, getting those likes and engagement, because that's a big part of it, and that is what gives us validation. So can you just explain everyone that okay, that this validation is not wrong at all times, but sometimes it can be extremely, it can affect our mental health like anything. So just something or around that, if you could
Yeah.
enlighten us. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have been very late. I have entered social media platforms very late. Uh, but so now that I'm active on Instagram and I follow psychologists, I follow therapists, I follow trainers, especially people, uh, mental health professionals working in the trauma therapies system, the trauma framework, working with queer population, all of that, and they are putting out such great content and uh, very inspiring content, and I'm at that stage where if I like something, that's what I'm sharing on my stories. But parallelly I'm thinking, okay, how can I do that? And they have so many followers, and like I said, I'm new. I don't really know too much about how to gain followers, and I'm thinking, okay, it's also about their impact. If
Yeah.
10,000 people are reading their posts, it's amazing. It's a great service, and I want to be able to do that in terms of reach. Yes, getting likes is a huge ego boost. Getting comments, people, you're engaging with people. People are messaging you saying, hey, your story really resonated with me, and I really like your posts. And so again, it's like a dopamine boost. You feel really good about yourself, and
So
and
apart
you
from
want to
the
be.
apart from the like the meaningful post, let's just I wanted to ask more about, like, like you post a hot picture, right? Or you think that it looks good, that you look beautiful in it, right? And you are maybe feeling low, so you post a picture so that you get comments and you feel happy. So is that fine, and how far should we be doing that as well, right? Because for a lot of people who are not, essentially their work is not on social media, that's what a lot of people do, right? Like they put up pictures, they
Yeah,
put up like maybe reels which are not educational or anything. It's just that it's fun and they might look
yeah,
pretty or like beautiful in it, or so is that
yeah.
like how far? should they, like, what all should they keep in mind basically while doing all this?
Yeah, so it's very temporary, and considering that Instagram is like full of filters, and it's quite
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I can't get my head around it, but it's quite amazing. But it's very short lived. And then, it's immediate, it's instant gratification. So I'm putting a pretty picture and I get like so many likes. All my friends are telling, oh my God, you look so gorgeous. And then there is a pressure of putting another photo, which is at the same level or even better. So then I have to again make that effort. It adds to the pressure of getting those likes. It
Yeah.
adds to the pressure of maintaining that image. That's a lot of anxiety, that's a lot of pressure, that's a lot of stress. And when your self-worth and self-identity get attached to the number of likes, then it's like a very steep slide downwards. And like, for example, if on my Instagram, if I put a mental health post with my pretty picture on it, or just my picture on it, I'll get so many likes. And I put some really important content, there'll be such
Yeah.
few likes, and I'm like, what nonsense. I would rather have more likes on my content. But yeah,
So
it's
our
also
whole generation is about instant gratification, right? Like instant news, whatever we want to know, we can just Google it and we have the answer right there. So I don't know if there's an answer to it, but is there a way we can get over this and, invest ourselves in things that are more meaningful? So, Nupur, you can answer that, and then I would like to know from Shravya and Alex as well that how do you guys, deal with it? Like, what
yeah.
do you do to reduce your sense of instant gratification and that, okay, this is temporary? How do you tell yourself that? So, Nupur, you can begin.
So, see, I don't think social media is something to get over. Everything has not just two sides, but many, many sides now that we know, and we don't think in dichotomies. Social media has proven to be useful. So, it's not
Yeah.
about getting over it, but it's first about observing and being aware of what's not working for you, what's helpful and what's not helpful. And when there is that awareness and you acknowledge, okay, this is mindless scrolling, this is not helping, or I'm hate scrolling, or this is causing a dent to my mental health. When you recognize that, when you acknowledge it, that's when you can do something about it. Okay, so it's very important to observe our social media activity, continue what's working, discontinue what's not working. And how do we do that? I think that's the crux of your question. How do we
Yeah.
deal with the unpleasant aspects of social media usage? Very important to know. And once you acknowledge, you have the the beginning is to start harm reduction. So what does that mean? That means that if I'm scrolling 10 hours a day, and it's true, when I have clients, they tell me that I scroll 8 hours a day. I am on Instagram, Facebook 8 hours a day, and I feel inside, I feel tired for them, and they are tired of it too. Like I seek, I understand, or I feel what they're feeling at that point of time, which may not be out there really. So reduce. So okay, 8 hours. So I won't advise, okay, stop completely, phone rak do, hath mat lagao, dekho mat. Like, cold turkey doesn't work. So if you're 8 hours on the phone, start with 7.5 hours for 2 days, 7 hours for 2 days, 6 hours for 2 days. Observe what's happening. And then work towards the goal, just like anything when we work towards a goal. Small steps, tiny, chewable, small morsels towards finishing a large plate of food.
Yeah.
And then, okay, every day I want to spend this much time, okay, for educational, entertainment, whatever, and for mindless scrolling as well. You can schedule for that as well. We don't want to put things in good or bad. Oh, I shouldn't. Okay, we need to dissociate once in a while. We need to just not look away from our troubles once in a while. So it's okay. Schedule it. Put your timer. So what do I do for the rest of the time? Right? So what do I do for the rest of the time? So what helps in this case is when we are scrolling, it's a mindless activity. We can shift from a mindless activity to a mindful, pleasurable activity. We want our dopamine and serotonin. Okay, this is where everything is working from. Okay, we need dopamine and serotonin here. So now what we will do is we will find other healthier, more adaptable options of being mindful in the here and now and doing activities that bring us pleasure, activities that make us feel good about ourselves in mindful ways. Like, for example, if I'm eating a chocolate, okay, I'm not going to pop it in. It's a very small example, something that we do in mindfulness training. But if I'm eating a chocolate, I'm going to look at it, I'm going to hear the crinkle, I'm going to touch the surface, I'm going to smell it, I'm going to eat it. So I'm enjoying the chocolate a whole lot more. And this is also a slow transition. One cannot suddenly,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm going to
Yes.
do only
So,
full pleasurable activities.
yeah.
Yeah.
Shravya, Alex, what do you two do to like dissociate yourself from social media? Like just keep it
Yeah.
aside. Do you have specific timings, or like what is the like Nupur was saying that you have to do mindful activities? Is there something that
Yeah.
you two do?
Yeah, I think with me, as Napur said, like in the start, it can become very passive, scrolling mindlessly kind of thing. So I, suggest whether you're doing it just to share with family and friends or you're doing it for your career. I have two separate accounts. One is just for my family and friends. I post silly, unedited, like a Finsta, right? And that's to tell my friends I'm doing okay. Look at this, I celebrated Diwali, whatever. And that's different. But I set very clear intentions and I repeat those to myself every day. What is the purpose? If I'm, why am I thinking about followers? It's because with my career Instagram, it's because I get business through it. So, okay, fine, let's leave it at that. Increasing followers actually just, I can get caught up in that. But the way I tell myself is that, if I'm getting business out of it, if I'm connecting with the right people, if I'm able to sustain myself, that's enough. There's no need to get caught up in the like, growing followers, etc. And I think that's where my mindset really helps. And when I do open Instagram, I always check like, okay, am I going on here for a specific purpose, or is it like an addiction? I just open Instagram to check. And that check-in like helps me close it really fast. So it's usually I'm trying to connect with people, or I've had a bad day and I want to actually get some positive, relaxation out of it. Then I say, okay, I'm going to, look for those. And within that, when I'm scrolling, if I do see anything triggering or something that upsets me, I do unfollow. And like that's the thing, like I don't allow myself to feel guilty or like I'm offending anyone to unfollow. It's just that if things trigger me, I'd rather not see that and make my own experience a healthy one. So I only follow, things that bring me joy. And then if they don't necessarily bring me joy anymore, I'm happy to unfollow and I like advocate for it as well. And then I also kind of remind people and remind myself that I am putting out a curated image, and all of us are. When we talk to people, when we're in a business setting, when we're even with friends or new people, you're putting a portrait of yourself for other people to perceive. So just be mindful that when I'm like watching somebody, I'm also seeing what they want me to see. It's not the full picture. And I think that really helps. And there's also, things, actual active tips, like, blocking, restricting, hiding. Those tools, like people need, they are made to protect us and help us. So I use those, whenever I see anything triggering, like use those tools to protect yourself.
Okay. Alex?
So, like how Nupur said, it was always for me, starting before COVID, it was always running behind likes and running behind followers. And I used to never curate my content according to that. It's only when I was not able to access with people that I was like constantly on that. Oh my god, I need followers, I need likes, I need brands to come and reach out to me and all of that. Then it came to a point where I'm like, my mind was saying you need social media detox, like you need to switch it off. And that is exactly what I did. I was like, you know what, I'm going to, like, say, temporarily deactivate all my accounts. And people started asking me, are you okay, are you fine? And I'm saying, I'm fine, I just need a break. And what happened is I started slowly, like, coming back to social media, but signing out, like, in an hour or so. Okay, in an hour or so I go back in, and then I check it, and then I come back out. I'm like, you know what, that's it for a day. uh, Actually, like, you're right, like, followers, what Shavil said, followers are not something you need to focus on. Thankfully, Instagram has introduced something called as, you can hide your likes, or you don't need to see other people's likes as well. So you're not triggered, you're not like, oh my god, they are getting more likes than me. I'm like, okay, I appreciate the content, I love what they're posting, and that's all you need to do. Like, the thing is, art is subjective, and what one person likes, the other person might not like. It's the whole apples and oranges story. So that is same thing which happened with me. I was like, you know what, if I'm posting a picture, unfortunately, it's not happening with reels. I don't know why they are focusing on views and likes in that. I get
Yeah.
irritated with it. But then I think, signing off, that's what I keep doing. And that is my focus right now. Just like, for my mental health sake, I do this, sign out from any social media.
Okay. I
Yeah.
think
So,
another
Alex,
really, oh, sorry. I was just going to say another really good take you just
yeah,
reminded me is to just make sure that, if you're signing on there to like get entertainment, ask yourself, what's another way I can get the same dopamine release or that,
Exactly.
because it doesn't have to be like, maybe I can just call my mom if I want to feel connected. Maybe there's a friend, like instead of liking her stuff and commenting, maybe I can just give her a call and say, hey,
Not to,
you look beautiful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Also, something that really shocked me was when I learned that Instagram likes can be bought.
Yeah.
They're,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
I
block
mean,
you though.
So,
They're watching.
yeah,
but when I got to know, it's like, I don't know, in Russia or
You can
somewhere.
buy
I don't know. I
followers
don't have facts, but
too.
thousands and 10 thousands of likes can be bought. And when I've seen people with like, I don't understand how did this account or did this content get so many millions of likes, and then later somebody told me, oh, they are just bought, and I was like,
I think
okay,
I think the other thing is to
what does
take
it mean? I
everything.
mean, it stops having any meaning anymore, you know?
Yeah,
yeah,
take everything you see online with a grain of salt, because what you see, even from people who are saying we're real, like me and Alex, like we're real people, but I'm still selectively putting out, I'm not telling you how I looked, when I woke up in the morning, or, if I was feeling
yeah,
sick. But just like that, take everything, the news, whoever you follow, with a grain of salt. It's not real completely. It's just like
Yeah,
in film, they say what you see is just what the camera puts there. So
yeah,
even documentaries are curated because they're editing, they're cutting, they're putting a camera here, you're not seeing behind.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
an illusion. At the end
It
of the day, it's
is.
an illusion.
Yeah. A
yeah.
Social
performance.
media is an illusion.
Exactly. Like, even right now, this is what's visible. You don't know if I'm wearing shorts under my kurta.
I'm actually sitting on the bed and doing this. So just to say,
me too.
I'm sitting on the bed and being comfortable at the
And this is not my house. This is my uncle's room. I don't look this
Yeah,
professional.
yeah, yeah. So see,
So,
even this that we are putting out is
yeah.
just this much. There is a whole lot of things behind, under, over, everywhere. You know?
yeah.
So one important aspect that like very actively impacts our mental health is like trolls, right? Like people who troll you, and that was something that I hadn't experienced for a very long time, even though I was posting. But it is only after you get a certain following, I feel, that you end up getting trolled, right? So I also experienced something like that recently, and even though I have been conducting these conversations, but when it happened with me, it just hit like something else. And even I like, you know that okay, you don't have to pay so much attention to them, right? But still, it does impact you because you're like, why is this person saying all this for no reason, right? And it's like trolling doesn't happen like one person at a time. Usually when it happens, it's like everyone's trolling you together, like a lot of people just come together and troll you if you offend them in some way. So Alex, I would like to know from you that because maybe like what you do ends up offending, like because they don't accept it or whatever their reason is, right? It offends,
Right.
or like a lot of people that okay, why is this man so confident and confidently talking about himself and is like owning himself completely. So how do you deal with that?
So I keep looking at from their perspective, like where are they functioning it from. So mostly most of the cases, homophobes and transphobes,
Yeah.
they function from insecurity and they function from ignorance. They're like, okay, I don't understand this, so let me go make fun or tease or all of that. They the thing what has happened is like whenever I perform like on stage, it's never happened because maybe because I am intimidating. I am 6 feet tall, and if you wear heels, I'm pretty sure people will get scared easily. But I think my battle has been always with online trolls, and it has happened so frequently, like after COVID and lockdown, and because everybody's on their phones and everybody, so they just it's just a person behind screen. You don't know who the person is, and they just have to just say anything which is hateful. So I exercise these four things. It's called as ignore, mute, block, delete. And thankfully, social media has given this for all of us plentifully. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I do. And it's really really disheartening to see that the homophobia and transphobia in social media has increased in the past 1 year because people don't understand, and it's always this regular what do you say regular means of educating them and saying, hey, we are human beings, we are here, we a lot of people like us out there, and even if they still don't understand that, then I think we should just ignore them.
Okay. So to conclude this conversation, I would just want to know one thing from each one of you that you would like to achieve through social media, whether it's empowering people or like, talking about important issues. What is it that you personally would either like to gain or, give through social media? Shavya, you can start.
One thing is hard. I feel like I always have like multiple goals. But I think the biggest thing for me is even through my art or what I share publicly, and why I'm willing to share my personal journey, even though, I know there's people who are going to judge me, people who are never going to talk to me, people who are going to call me crazy or whatever stereotypes, is because I wish when I was going through it, I knew that there was someone else going through it. So I think my biggest thing is I want to continue my telling my story and sharing my art because I think it'll help. If it helps just one person feel less lonely at the right moment, that could save a life. And I think that's why I do what I do. And I think it comes from representation. So increasing representation of not just the success stories, because I think now we're at the phase where mental health is talked about. We're having panels, but I think we still have a long way to go where, it's not just like a flu. Like I said, like I have to live with chronic depression and I have to take medication. So let's destigmatize it. You have diabetes, you take medication. I have depression, I have to take it. It's a brain chemical balance. So I think I want to really educate people on like the clinical diagnosis and like really take the stigma out of it. So yeah, that's my goal.
Nupur?
Yeah. So I have like 4 5 words. So so I'm so my calling is working with mental health, and it's not, there's so much stigma, there's so much taboos, there's people, there's so much ignorance, and there's so much judgment. There are a whole lot of things, so mental health advocacy, mental health awareness, I mean, mental health awareness is unending, at least in our scenario currently. Uh, Engaging people in conversations about mental health, destigmatization, debunking taboos and myths, and making self care and self love and working on your own mental health care popular. Like for example, outside, or we all have a GP, we will all have a dentist, we will all have a physician. When we have dental problems, we go to the dentist. When we have we go to appropriate doctors. But if we have mental health problems, the psychologist or a mental health professional is the last uh, person that, or a system that a person who's suffering goes to. It'll be friends, then family, and then some sort of religious leader, and then
Yeah.
some sort of like everybody else except a mental health professional. And by the time they reach there, there's already a lot of suffering that has happened, which could have been prevented. So, everybody should have a psychologist to go to when required, or when one feels the need, you know. So yeah, I want to make seeking mental help for mental health popular.
My platform that I am primarily using is for education. Like I always stated that the rampant homophobia and transphobia out there, and I would like to start my bit, and that's when I started this chat show called as Chaya with Maya, where I bring in people from the community, LGBT community, and have honest conversation. Like I don't have to focus on it on their identity. I can actually arrive to the conclusion, hey, we are human, so we are human beings. So that is my focus as of now, to bring in people and interview them and get to know them, and then just have fun along with it. So that is my focus when I use social media, because at the moment I don't think I can go to a studio and shoot everything. I just want to be safe in my space and invite people like on an Instagram live and interview them. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for joining in today. And I'm so glad we had this discussion. It was lovely.